Thousands of people across Northern Ireland have gathered at silent peace rallies this lunchtime to show their anger at the murders of a policeman and 2 soldiers. Politicians from across the traditional divides have all condemned the dissident Republican groups that claimed responsibilities for the attacks. 2 people are still being questioned about the murder of Constable Stephen Carroll. Chris Buckler reports.
They gathered together, leaving shops and stores, desks and offices to stand as one against the recent return of violence. One of the main rallies was organised for the centre of Belfast, a city that has tried to reinvent itself after the years of troubles.
I feel I have to be here because we have lived through the last 30 years of the troubles, and I'm not signing up for that again. It was just horrific.
I was abhorrent at the killings. I thought those days had gone.
Sappers Patrick Azamkar and Mark Quincy were the first soldiers killed by paramilitaries in more than a decade. Constable Stephen Carroll, the first police officer murdered. He was shot dead in a hardline Republican estate in Craigavon. There have been arrests, however last night there was more violence. Not serious, but a sign that not all are committed to peace. Flowers left in tribute to the dead policeman were burned. Concerns about dissident groups like the Continuity IRA remain.
They are organised, there's no question about that, and some of them left the mainstream IRA years ago, but they are also seeking to attract perhaps youngsters on a council estate who haven't got a job, and the recession's obviously very worrying in that respect.
During the Troubles, there were border checkpoints and the army on the streets. Look at the difference today. Not soldiers, but workmen, building new roads linking Belfast and Dublin. This is the border, not that there's any sign of it. All of this openness and new development does create security problems, particularly when the threat from dissident Republicans is regarded as being at a high. The police were concerned about border areas, just like Newry. This city has a strong Republican history. At the side of the road, a memorial to IRA hunger strikers. But peace has been good to Newry. Businesses have benefited from a boom in cross-border shopping. Today is a public display of the fact that the vast majority of people don't want that to change. Chris Buckler, BBC News, Newry.
Well, our Ireland correspondent Mark Simpson is at that rally in Belfast for us now. Mark.
I think what we're seeing today is people power at work in Northern Ireland, young and old, Catholics and Protestants standing together here in the centre of Belfast. And if we take a higher look at the crowd, you can see people from all walks of life, from taxi drivers to truck drivers to dentists to doctors to nurses, and they've come from all parts of Belfast to be here today. And I think there's a message being sent out to 2 different audiences. One, I think, is to the rest of the world, to assure people that Northern Ireland is still a good place to be, that there is still a peace process, and that people shouldn't judge Northern Ireland by those 2 awful incidents this week. And speaking of those attacks, I think that is the other audience that this rally and all the other rallies in Northern Ireland is aimed at. It's sending a message to the gunmen from the people that the violence has to stop. The problem, of course, is no one really knows whether the gunmen are listening. It's probably only a handful of people, maybe a couple of dozen people dotted around Northern Ireland, and they've proved in the past they're not listening, they're immune to the peace process. But I think that the people power will continue. This is the first rally today. It may not be the last.
Mark Simpson in Belfast, thank you. Toyota has announced that it's cutting the hours